Hello, and welcome to Small Biz Catalyst. I am your host, Ayisat. Join me as we explore ways that we as small business owners can pay ourselves a growing six-figure salary without pulling out our hair. Whether you're a small business owner or an economic development professional, this show is for you. Let's explore together. And if you listen to the end, I will share some grants that might be beneficial to your business. Hello. Welcome to today's episode of Small Biz Catalyst. Today's episode, we're talking about something really important. Truth or dare? Or shall I say fear? What are some things, some beliefs that we've held strongly to and hold as truth that could be possibly guided by fear? And how do we overcome them? In today's episode, we'll walk through some beliefs, truths that we hold dear and believe, some things that we believe are truth. They're actually, in fact, based completely on fear. I'm going to share my story, and I hope you find it helpful. And I hope it helps you challenge some of the fears that you claim to be truths. I'm a New Yorker, so I got my driver's license in New York. And I am the worst driver in my family, but in my extended family, one of the worst. I'd say top two. Definitely. And for the longest time, I just knew that I can't teach anyone how to drive because one, I'm a quote unquote bad driver. And two, I get scared when someone else is behind the wheels and they are not really good drivers. And then I've watched my husband teach other people how to drive and he's so excellent at it and patient and they've all gotten their driver's license. So when my daughter got a permit, she opted to be taught at home because that's taught like for people to others to get their license. And so you certainly could help her out. Well, this has dragged on for about a year. Yeah. And, throughout this, I saw her frustration and she would say, I'm going to get my driver's license by this date. And then she didn't get it. And she had actually gotten to the point where she's given up, but if she, she'll learn to drive anyways. And so I see them go out every now and then, practice and all of that. And a friend had asked me like, why don't you help your daughter? And I would say, oh gosh, no, I'm not a teacher. I cannot teach anyone else how to drive. I'm going to panic. She's going to panic. It's just going to be disaster. I just knew it. Well, last Sunday, my daughter and I were hanging out and she shared with me that she didn't want to go driving that day because Dad said he was going to put her on the frontage road. And I thought, oh gosh, I have to do something. And obviously, luckily for me, a week before this, I was talking to a friend and I thought, I said, if I ever taught her how to drive, it would have to be on some Hopi road, no one around and all of that. And so I thought about a community college not too far from our home. And I thought, I'll take her there. I told my husband, we're going out. We'll be back. I didn't even say we're going for a ride. So I drove her. She didn't even know what we were doing. I don't think she knew. I drove her to the community college, got to one of their big parking lots and told her to just take over the car. She was surprised. She started driving around the parking area, got comfortable and then she would joke, oh, I just see the car. I just, trying to park. At some point that evening, and I told her, put an hour on the clock when we left home. We're going out for an hour. And so at some point she parked perfectly and she got out of the car. She took a picture. She was so proud of herself. Of course, immediately texted her friends who were cheering her on. And then, we kept driving and she would go from one parking lot to another in the school, still within the school. She'd get on the small little road. She was really calm, comfortable and, just driving really fine. And sometime later, I told her, you're taking us home. So I said, instead of turning into the next parking lot, why don't you just go on forward and get to the light and make a left? And so she drove, got to the light and she was like, can I drive home? And I said, yeah, we'll go on the small roads. Now, mind you, she used to be terrified of getting on any major road. She's on the main street, on the main road, but luckily it's in the evening, so it's not as busy. She gets to the light. It's the first time she's ever driven at a light. Got into the light, stopped, made a turn, and she was nervous. She's like, what do I do? I'm driving in. And I said, well, get on the slow lane. So she got on the slow lane and we started driving. And I said, all you have to do is stay in your lane. That's what you've done the whole evening. You've parked, you've driven around on a 2-lane street, quiet, busy parking lot, but you've stayed in your lane the whole time. So just stay in your lane. So she stays in her lane. She drives past at least 3 to 4 lights that night and got on a frontage road. She didn't even know it. A huge frontage road. And almost just got on the highway. And as we got home, she got to a familiar driving spot where she practices. And so she turns into the Costco. And she's like, Mom, I can't go on the frontage road. Mind you, she just came from another frontage road and turned into the store on the frontage road. And I said, you're going back. And she's like, no, Mom. That one has a steep. And I said, well, we'll stay there. Whenever you're ready to go, we'll go. So we got there, waited a little bit. She saw that it was clear. She got on it, drove on it, and then drove us all the way home. She couldn't believe it. And I said, do you know that you were on a frontage road even before we got to the Costco? You were on a bigger frontage road and a bigger highway. And then I said, do you know you drove on a major street through lights and took us home? She was so proud of herself. And I said, all you had to do was stay in your lane. And as long as you were in your lane, you were fine. And the thing is, that was true for me too. I was afraid of taking out driving because I thought, I can't do it. I got into that fear that I can't do it. I'm gonna suck at it. I'm gonna fail at it. I'm gonna scare her. It's gonna scare me. And it's gonna be a disaster. And in one night, we both broke our fear. She went beyond our expectation. And so did I. She must have driven at least 10 minutes home. The lie that I had been telling myself that I can't do it was nothing but fear. Fear of failing. I don't know what you're going through right now, what you feel you can't do, what fears, what lies you've been telling yourself because of fear. But I do know this. If you stay in your lane, put the next foot in front of another, you can overcome that fear. So could it be that staying in your lane is what you need to overcome that fear? Just do the next best thing. The next thing you need to do. Probably by the time this episode airs, we may have just been in the week of a summit, or perhaps just ended the summit. For a long time, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's a big event. I can't. I wouldn't know what to do. I can't. And that was just fear. And the moment I started taking the steps, finding exactly what needed to happen, what was the purpose? And the clearer I got on every step, the easier it was for me to take the next step. All right. Who do you need? What do you need to do? What does this event need to be? Who does it need to speak to? Who do you need to be there? And so I would send an email, make a call, and I would get most times a favorable response, a few no's, but still more yeses. And all I had to do throughout this whole process was just stay in my lane, keep my eyes forward, and keep moving. So there's a lie you've been telling yourself today. I want to challenge you to think about what you need to do to overcome that fear. And I would love to hear what it is. If you're comfortable sharing a comment on any platform you're listening to, you could even text me on some of the platforms, podcast platforms, or email us. I'd love to hear from you. And now for the grant announcement. First grant is from Tee It Up for the Troops. This grant does not have a deadline or a specified amount. To learn more about this grant, you can email Ashley, that's ASHLEY, at teeitupforthetroop, that's TEEITUPFORTHETROOP. To apply for this grant, you go to teeitupforthetroops.org/apply-4-grants. Or you can also contact Becca, that's BECKA, at teeitupforthetroops.org. The application is on the website and it's easy to fill. They support 6 pillars. That's family and caregiver support, PTSD and traumatic brain injury treatment, suicide prevention, golf and sports rehabilitation, employment, housing and homelessness. Next grant is the Bernard Family Foundation. The deadline for this grant is December 31st, 2025. The maximum grant amount is $50,000. You can get more information from Kathy S. Bernard at 5532 Redstone Manor, Chevy Chase, MD 20815. That's Kathy S. Bernard, BERNARD, and Kathy is CATHY. The address is 5532 Redstone, that's GRETSTONE Manor, MANOR, in Chevy Chase, CHEVY Chase, CHASE, MD 20815. Until next time.